Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for a very special masterclass session with Academy Award nominated actor and filmmaker Tim Roth. This is a collaboration between the USC School of Cinematic Arts and the USC School of Dramatic Arts. I'd like to particularly thank Megan Laughlin from SDA for helping to put all of this together. Your moderator today will be John DeMita from the School of Dramatic Arts, excuse me. I just wanted to very briefly let you know that we're going to do a hybrid for the questions later on from the audience. If you would like to ask a question live, type it up in the Q&A box, and we'll invite some of you over when we open this up to turn on your cameras and use your microphones and ask your question directly. But if you'd rather just write a question for us to read, just please make sure to put that in your question, and John can read it out loud instead of bringing you over. So I'll repeat some of this when we get to it, but in the meantime, let's please welcome Tim Roth and John DeMita.
Hi, guys.
So welcome, and I want to just give a brief introduction. I'm sure you know much of this already, those of you who are listening, but it is a particular pleasure to talk to Mr. Roth. He's had a career that has spanned more than 30 years and appeared in some of the most iconic films in cinema history. He worked with some of the most influential directors of all time, including Robert Altman, David Lynch, Tim Burton, Francis Ford Coppola, and of course, his longtime association with Quentin Tarantino. Tim has played cops, killers, skinheads, bellboys, the foppish villain Cunningham and Rob Roy, for which he won the BAFTA award and was nominated for an Academy Award. And interestingly, is coming up to reprise his role from The Incredible Hulk as Emil Blonsky, or the Abomination, in the She-Hulk series set to premiere next year on Disney+. So welcome, Tim. It's really an honor and a pleasure to get to talk to you, even through a Zoom window. How are you, sir?
That's how I live, in a Zoom window. I'm good. We've been in lockdown for over a year now, fully like quarantine style over here, because we're looking after my parents-in-law. So this is it. I took a quick jaunt to make or help out, I should say, on a film in New Zealand, which was incredibly refreshing and very strange because they were open for business. And
that must have been quite an adjustment.
It was weird. It was really, it was exhausting at the beginning because it was so deeply unusual to be in a crowded space and to be okay. And also they have a grown-up running the country, so that does help somewhat. And then, but it was lovely. It was a little independent film that my agents in London asked me if I would help out. It's a film that is a complicated subject, dealing with sexuality and emerging sexuality with a Maori young man and a young, I don't know what you call it, colonizer. And I played the alcoholic father of the young boys. So, they've been trying to make it for 14 years. It was the director's first film. And so they put me on a plane and sent me over. It was lovely. So, but that's literally everything that I've done, all I've done in the past year or more. Yeah.
You've worked with a lot of first-time directors, haven't you?
I like that. Yeah. I'm actually, it's a second-time director now, but I will be after this is all over. I'll be working with a young Russian director, hopefully up in New York, and then be working with a German director in London.
Wow.
Stuff like that. And but first-time directors is always, I've done it many times, and it's fascinating and challenging in a good way, as opposed to a sort of annoying way. Yeah. So it's a good thing to do, I think. Yeah. And everyone's got to start somewhere, right? So
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
No, I said everyone starts somewhere.
Right.
I mean, when I started with Quentin, I had 10 some odd years in, and it was his first film. So and we were unfazed. I mean, you read the script, you knew you were up on for a ride. So yeah.
Now, had you read the scripts that he had written prior to that, for True Romance and
And Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had never read them, and he sold them so he could make a film. And
right.
I don't think he's actually seen. I'm not sure if he's seen them in their entirety. Actually, still, I'm not sure. That's a question for him. But I think so. He wanted to make them. He really did. But this was, it was, I mean, eventually they got 30 grand and they were going to make it in this garage, you know. And then Harvey Keitel came on board and it opened up a little bit, not by too much.
Really, not that much. Well, that's such an amazing. I mean, you're talking about Reservoir Dogs, of course, and that's such an amazing ensemble of people that he put together. And you've all worked together consistently on other.
Oh, as much as possible.
Yeah.
And the only I'm trying to think if I've worked with Steve.
That's right, Steve Buscemi, only that one, I think.
I don't think I have. He was. When happened today? Yeah, he was struggling at one point. I was making a film up in New York somewhere. I went to see him, and he was really feeling the pinch. He wasn't getting work and stuff, and he called me the next day, and he got. Is it Boardwalk Empire that he did, or and that changed everything. So I love the man, but I don't think we've had a chance to sort of have a go on a set together for a long time, or maybe since then. I don't know. Pulp Fiction, he was around.
Oh, he was. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And do you? I mean, when you work with, I was going to wait and talk about Tarantino because I'm sure it's something you're asked a lot. But since you brought him up, do you rehearse a scene with him? Is it? I mean, because it feels like a theater company the way he's brought all of you together so many times.
We rehearsed solidly. Yeah. I remember when we rehearsed. Yes, he always rehearses. When we rehearsed Reservoir Dogs, we had some kind of warehouse, small space, and Shakespeare came up. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Hamlet in that case, about the father-son thing with me and Harvey. I don't know what was going on. And then we rehearsed Pulp Fiction. I was lucky because I shot the dove ends, the tail ends of the film, beginning and end of the film. So we shot that in one block. And so, have I lost you? I don't know if you're still there. Were you frozen? Can you hear me? I'm not sure. Let me see.
Yeah, I'm having seeing John is frozen as well. Let me see.
Am I frozen?
You're fine. It's just John.
Okay. Yeah.
This is like
nice posters.
This is it.
Oh, at least we're getting your audio now.
Oh, I like your posters.
Oh, thank you.
8.5 is a great movie. Dolce Vita. Woof. Okay. I should not vape.
John, do you have? Is your mic working? Oh, maybe I'll have to leave and come back.
Oh, he's left. Yeah, he'll come back. Yeah. Zoomitis.
Let's see. There's while we're waiting for that to happen, let me bring over one of our students. Oh wait. Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Cool. There we go.
Are we good?
All right, John, you're good.
Where is John?
You're on mute. There we are. Good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Great.
So we rehearsed. We shot Pulp Fiction as a block, like as a separate film in a way, which was kind of fun. So Sam and John came. They were the small parts, and me and Amanda were the sort of leading roles in that. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
But we rehearsed it prior, and then when we did Hateful Eight, when we did Hateful Eight, we rehearsed. We had the studio, and he marked out the sets and stuff, and we did table reads with all the cast, and then we blocked it and worked it a bit. And then one day he went, "I'm bored. Let's shoot it." And so we just got on with it,
Yeah.
And we all agreed. By the way, it was like, we want to shoot this, So and then we proceeded. But in a sense, the exception of Pulp Fiction, I mean, Inglourious Bastards had a play-like quality as well. I was supposed to do that and I couldn't, unfortunately, but not fortunately for the other actor, the one that did do it. But he always rehearses. He's very serious about it. It's a lot of fun, but he knows when it's over and it's time to shoot. So.
And with
Go ahead. Oh, you're frozen again, mate.
John, try just turning off your video and using your mic, because that can increase your so the stability of your connection.
No, yeah. Oh, there you are.
I'm here. I don't know if it's me or you. I think it's.
I think it's you.
It's
Okay. Well then, because I'm hardwired, but I guess I'll.
Oh, maybe not then. Maybe it's me. What do you think?
I haven't had any problem with your audio or video, Tim. It's just
Okay.
using up.
Okay, cool.
So John,
Okay,
maybe
well, I'm so
temporarily turn off your video and see if that increases.
I would be happy to. Nothing makes me happier than turning off the video. I turn off my hide myself view no matter what.
Okay.
All right, there you are. Okay, so I'm going to pray. Hoping best. Okay, good. So with Amanda Plummer, you worked with her. Did you specifically ask to work with her in Pulp Fiction because of some?
No, what happened? I had a tiny little apartment in it was when I first kind of arrived, got settled, and I had a little flat in. Weirdly, I mean, God knows what that would be worth now, but was living just below Sunset on Gardner, across from a fire station. It was great. And Amanda, I had met. I was doing a play at the Royal Court Theatre in London, and she had come to see it. And then we had sort of, gone out for a pint or something. And I'd wanted to work with her. And so when I was in Hollywood, I can't remember how I bumped into her or met with her. Anyway, we did a little film called Monkey Park, like a short film, first time director type of thing, student film almost. And it was a thing that I used to do, was go around and put my name up when I was starting out as an actor in Britain. I would put my name on sort of film school boards, actor for hire, and put the phone number up. And I was kind of like that when I arrived in America. I was like, okay, if there's a student film, I'm ready to make it. And so she did one with me, and then we became mates. And then she's a little eccentric, Amanda, as you could probably imagine. So it was she wanted me to take her to the premiere of Fisher King that she had done, and I said, sure, I will. And but I knew to get the car to come to my house first, to take us to her place, and then pick her up, put her in the car, and take her to the festival. And sure enough, she'd forgotten about the premiere. It was just typical Amanda. And so we threw her into a dress, got her in the car, went there, and Quentin rolled up, and we were talking. I introduced her to, and I said, I want to do a film with Amanda where she has a gun in her hand, because the idea of Amanda with a gun in her hand was utterly terrifying. And he went, right, you're on. And that's how we got those roles in Pulp Fiction. You have to tell me when I'm rambling, because I do tend to.
No, this is exactly what I was hoping for, to talk to you about these really wonderful stories about what goes on behind the scenes. And then just going back to that, since you said you had worked on, I think you might have mentioned that you had done a little theater, but you've also said in interviews that you have terrible stage fright. I mean, is that
I do.
something? How many plays have you done? Is that your origin? Because then you originally went to school to be a painter, is that right?
Yeah, no, I was studying actually by the end. I went to a very good fine arts school in London, South London, called Camberwell Art School, and kind of taught my way in. Although I was good at painting and drawing, and that was one of the things I did. I spent a lot of time doing when I was at school, and it ran in the family too. My sister's a painter, my mother was a painter, my dad could draw, was beautiful illustrator, and so on. So that was a natural place for us to end up. We weren't by any means well off, so you got a scholarship to go to art school, and that was a way of getting away from home and moving out of home. And so I did that, and then in the meantime, I just started acting when I was at high school, and loved it. And so I was doing community theatre and plays, little kind of rough places above pubs and stuff like that. And I was getting, the woman who taught drama at my high school took me under her wing and showed me how to audition, told me where to look for jobs and all of that kind of stuff, put me in community theatres. So I did a lot of plays. That was all I did. And then I went to art school because you could get a scholarship. So, but while I was there, I was still doing theatre. And I was okay after about a week. I could handle it. It wasn't a problem. I would walk a couple of miles backstage and deal with it. And then it started to increase with me, the stage fright thing. And I did a play in not quite the West End of London, in a theatre that's gone now, called The Mermaid, and it was Stephen Burkhoff directed it. It was an adaptation that he'd done of Metamorphosis, and I did that, and it was a hit. It was lines around the block type of thing, but I kind of wanted that to be my last. I was done, and I was doing film and television at that point too. But I kind of call it quits on that. It was exhausting and backbreaking.
Yeah,
and then
right? Wasn't that a very physical part?
Yes,
I mean,
yeah. And I still have a bad back from it. Weirdly, it's one of those things. Yeah. And then I did do a play when I came to America. I did Sam Shepard's play God of Hell, which we did at the Actors Studio up in New York. Because I'd been working with him, I was on a film with him with Wim Wenders, and he'd been trying to get me to do a play. He asked me to do a play Broadway, and I passed on it because I was working, and then he came at me again. And I really got on very well with Sam. And then he trapped me into that one. I did that one. That's with the exception of rehearsing a Pinter play in LA, which The Birthday Party is a phenomenal play.
I love that play.
Which got cancelled during rehearsals for reasons I won't go into. That's it. I was pretty happy when it got cancelled, I have to say.
Oh God, shit.
With Friedkin with directing as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, but that's it for me. I think they do come knocking, but which is very lucky. But it just terrifies me, completely terrifies me. Yeah.
But being on a set with hundreds of crew and other actors, and you've gotten to work with some really remarkable actors and wonderful people that you must have admired over the course of your career.
Oh God, yeah. No, it's because the nature of being on a film set is such a community spirit and such a you sit, you chat, you do your lines, or you change them, or you play with them, or whatever. It's a process that's very. You don't change with Quentin, by the way, but then you don't.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to ask you about that and compare him say to Altman, because I imagine working with Robert Altman is quite a bit different in terms of the. Well,
Altman was. No, to finish that point though,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The nature of being on a film set doesn't, for me at least, holds no fear at all. I don't know why, but it's home for me, I suppose I would say. So that's where I live, really. That's right. But I've been tempted a couple of times purely by the material, but I don't think I'll be going back to that. On the Altman thing, that came about in a very odd way. I was doing a Peter Greenaway film in London called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover. Yeah, which is hilarious and bizarre. and we were messing with Peter all the time. We would, because we have Michael Gambon, who's Practical Joker, and we would mess with Michael, and it was a crazy set. Very unusual for the way, because for Peter Greenaway, it was very, very unusual madness, but he contained it. And anyway, while I was doing that, I got a call from my agent saying Altman wants to meet you, and they told me what it was about. I was with this phenomenal, still with them, phenomenal independent agency over there, fantastic group. And so they told me it was Vincent, and Vincent was one of my dad's heroes for whatever reason. So I thought, okay, but I knew about him and I'd read about him, and I was too young. But I went to meet with Altman. He was staying in a posh hotel, and I went up to his room and proceeded to try and talk myself out of a job, and which I think made him more inclined to hire me. He just offered it to me on the spot. I was like, oh shit, oh fuck, okay. And then working with him, he wasn't script precious, and the script wasn't quite up to scratch anyway, but for him that didn't matter. The story was the story. And as we started to work, we would get with the other actors and work our dialogue, and in the evening after filming, and we would be working on what's the next day, and we would be changing it and playing what's the scene about, and then working around it, and then presenting him with the scene the next day, and then we would take that and improvise around that, and up to the point where he was very free with that with his actors and encouraged it no end. And so by the end of filming, he would ask me and Paul Rees, who played Theo Van Gogh, he would say, "Where do you want the camera?" I mean, it was a very unusual experience, but I'd had not that kind of creative experience, but I'd worked in improvisation before. I'd worked with Mike Lee, who doesn't have a script, and it has a long improvisational process. So I had some kind of chops in that, and that kind of freedom was, while it was unusual, was extraordinarily liberating and challenging as an actor. You're under the gun. You better deliver.
Right.
But it's a different kind. It's a collaborative experience, which I think I find film to be anyway.
But each of these directors that you've worked with seems to have such a unique approach. I mean, that must be tremendously refreshing to just constantly adapt to what your collaborators are offering you. To be able to keep your imagination alive in that way.
I have. I'm trying to think of another example of that. Well, the opposite with Twin Peaks. we just
where you may not even understand the script, I guess.
Yeah, which is great, and you just get your sides and you're good. But we did play around with David actually. What was the one note that he gave me? I don't know if anyone's seen it. I haven't seen it, but I had to be shot to bits in the back of a van, and his note, which was fucking brilliant. No dialect coach, so we're just winging it. His note to me was, "Oh yeah, think Ragdoll Elvis and action." So, and it worked. It was, and he was laughing. He was crying with laughter when I came out the back of the van. There's a lot of squibs.
I was going to say, was it practical squibs on you and in the set?
Oh yeah, and the van, and But yeah, it was wild. I loved working with him. I love him. He's a fantastic guy.
He's an artist as well, right? I think he's a painter too.
Yeah, a photographer and a painter. He wanted me to. I take pictures, or I used to, and he wanted me to put a book of photographs together, and he wanted to produce it or something. I never lived up to that expectation, but yeah, he's a delightful human. And also I was working with Jen, from Hateful Eight, so that was pretty easy.
Yeah. Because your father was a painter, and he was in love with Van Gogh, and you studied to be a painter.
He died before the film came out.
Did he really? That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad.
We actually cremated him. I wasn't around. Where was I? I was in Ethiopia at the time. doing a not very good movie, and he was cremated with a picture of me as Vincent.
Oh,
That's as close as he got.
What do you do? So what do you when, like, say, for example, this year of COVID and everyone's stuck in their homes, how do you stay creative? How do you still take photographs?
We do, but they usually have the cat. You know, where we're at.
That's my dog too, yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's very it's difficult, but actually, no, I mean, I found with the lockdown situation, and for such a long time, I came off the back of working very hard for a couple of years, pretty solid. So my vacation is always coming home. And so I found it, as it progressed, it's hard to read. And that's been, you know, I'm about to start work, and learning the lines is going to be interesting. I don't know what my brain will do with that, you know, after being, you know, in this predicament for such a long time. You know, when I nipped over to New Zealand, it was like, what do you think he should say, and all of that stuff. Lose that, put that over there. It was a very, you know, loose experience. So the idea that you might be nailed down to dialogue and then have to learn it and shoot it, I'm interested to see what that works out like, having been dormant for such a long time.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean,
yeah,
I'm having the same problem. I can't read in quarantine, which you think I'd have all the time in the world.
I find the same, and I'm normally, especially when I'm on location, I read 20 books while I'm away, you know, and I'm finding it really, really difficult to engage that part of my brain at the moment. It's really difficult.
Have you ever done any writing for the material that you've also produced as well? I mean, your series Lie to Me, I think you were on board as a producer.
Yeah, we used to, with that, we did, by the end of it, we were working on the scripts and stuff. There's, you know, I mean, I've not seen it. I think I maybe have seen half an episode or something.
So you don't watch yourself. You don't watch any of your stuff. Is that what I'm getting?
Unless I'm forced to. You know, if I'm in a film festival and I can't get out after the lights go down, you know, if that would be rude to do that. I pretty much don't. There are a couple of exceptions in that, like, for example, I did a film called Chronic with Michel Franco, and I wanted to see, we had some nurses, I was playing a palliative nurse, and we had some nurses in the audience, and I wanted to see I wanted to talk to them and do a Q&A like this, but on stage type thing. I wanted to see what kind of effect it had on them, and the accuracy of the portrayal and so on. As far as what they thought of it, I was interested to find out. So I watched that. Trying to remember, I got trapped into watching Grace of Monaco I think that was in Cannes, and I just cringed all the way through it. My wife thought it was fine.
Why do you cringe? What is it?
I don't want. It's the idea of watching myself.
Are you like?
Once I'm done, it's over to you guys. The film really doesn't have. I don't know why. I mean, I just got overkill of having to go to festivals and do that stuff. So I suppose, you know, I mean, really, my job is done. Now it's over to the audience and to the press. And they can say, well, I don't read reviews, any good or bad. I don't read interviews that I've given. I don't read anything. And I find that to be a pretty good way to go about my business, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, with the possible exception, there are a few critics that are actually writers. Kenneth Tynan is a good example of what that was. Even if you got a bad review from him, you read it because it was beautiful writing. Pauline Kael was very nice to me. We spoke on the phone and stuff. There've been a few, Roger Ebert, you know, but after that, really, aside from that, it's not my concern what they think of me. They're just telling an audience or influencing an audience. It's not for me to be involved, really. I don't think. I don't mind doing press at all. I quite enjoy it, actually.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've had a great time watching some of the interviews given in preparation for this. The stories you've told us. I mean, I'm tempted to just I'm tempted to tee up every great story that I heard. But I want to ask one that I didn't hear asked, which is something about when you were as a young actor, because I teach at the School of Dramatic Arts. So I'm talking in part to my actors. When you're getting out of your training and you're getting out of those early experiences in community theater and before you were hired to appear in This Is England, yes? This is
Made in Britain. Made in Britain.
Made in Britain. God, I'm paraphrasing the film. I apologize. How rude. But anyway, which, by the way, is a remarkable performance. And you're only, what, 21 in that film?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So were you at any point studying it formally? Was it something you just felt intuitively you understood? What was your?
No, I never studied. I've never studied acting. I mean, there were improv classes at community theatres, and we would take them.
Yeah.
But no, I never studied it at all. No.
Do you have a process that you might be able to pass on to, like, your oldest son is an actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he is doing all right as well.
Do you guys talk about the craft at all in that way?
A little bit, not as much as we should. It would be kind of fun to do it, actually. We've been chatting over the text machine, and we're gonna get on the phone. Hopefully, I'll see him when I get over to London, because he's London based, and we can catch up properly over there. Yeah. So, no, it seems to me that each piece of work requires a different process. It depends on the director. It depends on the financiers, and whether they. Well, in certain cases, the financiers will lock it down. In which case, everyone just sits back and chills, have a cup of tea, and do your stuff. But what that tends to mean is that they've read the script. This is the product that they want, and you don't mess with it. That happens occasionally, not too often. But that can be, the money can get in the way of the film. That happens. But generally, each director has their own idea and what they want, and sometimes you battle with it, and sometimes you go with it.
With the performance you gave in Planet of the Apes, that was an incredibly physical performance, which I'm a huge fan of that performance. You're amazing in that.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. Actually, with Tim, I think Tim really wanted to make, in fact, I know he wanted to make a much darker film than they would let him.
Oh, interesting.
So within that film, we got to play dark. Me and Tim got to mess around. So I got involved in the movement. The guy who I think did Greystoke, played one of the apes in Greystoke, and also did the movement in that, came on to work with us on the ape movement and body language, which I found to be really fun. And then I had a double. He didn't need the muscle suit. I had a double. Who's a phenomenal guy. He was a catcher in a trapeze act, and he was in Cirque du Soleil. And his name's Terry Notary. He was in a film. Is it The Square? Was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to jump in on that because Terry was in The Square, but he was also played Rocket in the other Planet of the Apes movies, and he came and did an ape movement workshop.
No way!
We did a whole Planet of the Apes retrospective. We actually had your costume.
I would love to have done that.
We had your costume on display.
Really?
Yeah, and so Terry brought the stilts that he uses.
Oh, the extensions.
Yeah, the arm extensions, yeah. And
he
led 20 very lucky USC students through like 3 hours of how to move like an ape.
He came and built a trampoline in my backyard. He's it for the kids. He was phenomenal. I love him. And anyway, yeah, he's brilliant. So he was there, and we became fast friends, and we just couldn't. I mean, that was a case of when you're on set and you've got nothing to do, we would just carry on doing it. Oh, the cat's in there. My cat might get involved in this in a minute.
Talking about animals, yeah.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we became very close, and I loved doing that movement. I loved all of that aspect of it. I mean, it was, and me and Terry worked on, okay, how dark can we go? What can we slide by the producers or the money? You know, I think it was, I don't know if it was Disney, I can't remember, Fox or something. Anyway, we had a really good time playing around on that film. Terry was brilliant. Terry actually came on when I did, this is the ones you do for your kids, that was one. And the other was the Hulk. And so Terry, I suggested Terry, I said, you got to get this guy, and he's brilliant. He came on to do the movement for the, you know, when he's changed into the monster, for that movie too. And so that was fun. And then we found the guy, one of the guys who invented free running, the French guy, Cyril. He did my movement, and we would play. And that's the thing we did with Tim, and I learned that from Tim Burton, was we would come on the set early and go, okay, what can we do to, you know, basically it was my character walking into a room. Okay, well, he gets off a horse, climbs up this, jumps over that, does that, and comes through the window. And Tim would go, okay, back in your, you know, your makeup room or whatever, and he would set it up, and Terry would work. So me and Terry would work with Tim on set, inventing stuff for the character as we went, which was pretty great.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that is very much a discipline in and of itself. I mean, that's, oh, I know you're going to reprise this role. Is that true? I mentioned that in the
Oh, the Hulk thing?
Yeah.
Oh, the Hulk thing. Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but yeah. I'm, yeah, they're bringing me back in that She-Hulk thing, just to muck about. Yeah. And I think it's kind of a laugh. It's fun. That one, again, the Hulk I did for my kids, they were at school, and I thought it'd be funny to, I don't know if he's going to involve himself. Okay. Anyway. Oh yeah, he's backing away. Yeah, I you know, all of that kind of stuff, all of that stuff you can do, you know, that's the serious work that you do, and that tends to be, you know, on the indie side of stuff. But then if you get lucky enough, you get to do some of those big silly jobs, which are a lot of fun, and they keep the roof on.
Right. Pay the tuition bills. Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you worked with, I'm thinking through your filmography in my memory. I mean, you did the reimagining or the recreation of Funny Games with Naomi Watts.
Yeah,
which is, I'm originally an astonishing film, and must have been quite an interesting challenge to do something a frame by frame.
Oh, it was heartbreaking. It was really difficult. I found it difficult.
Yeah.
Naomi is absolutely brilliant, and I found it really hard because the kid, what's his name? Is it Devon? I can't remember. I think Devon, who was playing the boy, looked so much like my son. It was too much, and all of it was too much. And he shot brilliantly. I mean, he shot in sequence. Yeah. So you would, as stressed as you were at the end of shooting that day, you would pick up the stress level the next day, and it just escalated. And I found that film really, really difficult to do. Although towards the end, I had Michael Haneke on my shoulder crying, and I'm like, "Why are you? I should be on your shoulder." You know.
Really, and he had already been through it once before.
So it was so difficult. It was difficult to make. It was deeply disturbing. I found it very, very hard emotionally, and but as a piece of work, if I step back from it and I think about things that we did, there was, for example, one take, I think it was one piece was a camera move that lasted for 12 minutes or something.
I remember it well, yeah.
And that was a tough day.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about the story, and we were kind of living it a bit, it was a really, really, really difficult film. And you know, for me, Naomi Watts saved the day. I mean, just as far as getting through it. for me, just she looked after me through that, because I found it particularly difficult and she could deal with it much better.
So is there a project? I know you directed a feature, and I've heard you say that you've wanted to go back to doing that. Is there something that's on the back burner, something in your mind that you wanted, a story you want to share?
Well, I do have one, but I don't know if it'll ever get made. When I was doing, there's a script that I put together of King Lear, a film of King Lear, and I asked Tom Stoppard to write it, and he said, "Oh no, not me. You want Harold." I was like, "Okay." And he got on the phone with his friend Harold Pinter, and Pinter said, "Yep, I've got this. I've been wanting to do this all my life." And so I talked with him, which was in itself extraordinary. And we met up in London. We worked on back and forth on ideas. First of it was all done over the phone from here, and then I got my first draft within 4 weeks. Which, if you know Harold's script, you'll understand this. I was reading it and going, "Well, where are the monologues? What's the deal here?" And he said, "Well, you got a camera. You don't need them." Interesting. Okay. And then there'd be a big sword fight, a big sequence in it, and he would write down, "So and so picks up a sword, so and so falls." Done. Over to you. I was like, "Okay, well, that's interesting." So I went I went to London, and we worked the script, we did all that, and he said, "If you need a mise en scène to take to whoever you want for finance, that's over to you. You write that if you want to." So I did, and I got someone in to help me with that, and we worked on that. So I have, and at one point I reached out to actors, which is interesting, which I had kind of on board. I had Kate Winslet, Kate Blanchett, and Emma Thompson as the daughters. I had Christopher Walken as the king. I hadn't figured out Gloucester yet, although Pacino appeared at a table where I was at one time because he'd heard it was about. But we hadn't cast that. Stellan Skarsgård, Ray Winstone. Can't remember who else. We had a lot of very, very good people, and I took it to a couple of studios and they were not interested, even with that cast. It was very early in Kate's career, but she was Kate Blanchett's career, but phenomenal. Anyway, and so they were at that time the only actor that they trusted with Shakespeare around was Kenneth Branagh, and I was very different from that animal, So it went on a shelf, and it's still there, and it needs to be made. And if I don't get to make it, I'll hand it off to someone else to make it, because it's a Pinter adaptation of a Shakespeare, a great one, and that should be made, really. But that's all I got. There were a couple of other things I was looking at, but that's the only one I would want to make, and it's huge. Did I lose everyone?
You're still here. I don't know. Did we lose John? Oh, we did lose John. Oh,
we lose the students.
No. You still have a couple hundred people watching. So let's
sorry
do
if I'm
this.
boring you.
I wanted to maybe start. I guess we can bring in some students. That I have a running list of people that have asked questions. And what I'm going to do, everyone, is I'm going to bring in a bunch of you all at once so that we can do this, one after another, but keep your camera off until we call on you. So I'm going to start with Sophie Hanks, and then I'll put a running order in the chat so that you know who's coming up next. So Sophie, I'm going to move you over now.
Let's actually, I would love to get a second.
Well, I can't hear you very well. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hiya.
Thank you so much for being here.
No problems. We've got nothing else to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
My question for you was, if you had any advice for like your 21-year-old self, what would that be?
I was very unstoppable in a sense. I had nothing. I'd worked in the supermarket and I'd gone to school and that was it. And I went to art college. But once I'd figured out that that's what I wanted to do, the way I started as an actor was I went on the dole, on the welfare, and they asked me what I was, and I told them I was an actor. So that was the beginning, as day one. No, I suppose what I figured out for myself was, if someone says no, then they're wrong and I'm right and there's something else around the corner. It was very, you had to be that way. You couldn't, you had to not be let down by the amount of no's that you got, you know? You just had to plow forward, always, always, always onwards was my thing. And that's still pretty much how I operate. I mean, there are times when you just go, shit, you know, I wish I could have done that. But they didn't want you, so you move forward, you know, and you just, there's plenty of people out there wanting to make films. They may not be ever seen by anybody, but, you know, there's always a student or a young director or, you know, who's out there trying to get it together. And as a relatively inexperienced, say, or fully inexperienced 21-year-old, you take what you can get. That was my feeling. Yeah. I mean, I got lucky. I got a lead in something straight out of the box, straight out of the gate, and then one thing led to another. Yeah. So I would say, don't stop. Don't get. The thing is, you have to develop a fairly thick skin. You do have to be able to take rejection. You got to get used to it. It comes a lot. Yeah, and don't worry about it. Except when you see the film afterwards and someone else has played it and you go, really? That's an issue.
Thank you.
And that happens. You go, what? What were you thinking?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I would say. You're welcome.
Okay, it looks like we have Justine.
Hello, thank you so much for being
Hiya.
here. What is the best creative artistic connection you ever had with another person in your life, and why?
You mean as far as work is concerned?
Yes.
Blimey, I had a lot. I don't know how to answer that. You stumped me. Well, Quentin is one, which it's been just a few times, but sometimes they're the ones that I suppose. Blimey, you got me. I think really I would go backwards. I would say day one. Alan Clark, who directed my first time in front of a camera, and his DP, Chris Menges, who was astounding. And that was the beginning of Steadicam as well, without it being ostentatious. It was a way of working. It freed the actors. No end. I was shocked when I went on to my second job and it wasn't there, and I didn't understand why you were doing all of the cuts and so on. It was slow. But I would say Alan Clark. I always think of Alan Clark was at the beginning of my life as an actor, really, with the added with that one teacher I had at high school. They kind of marshaled me and shepherded me through the first 10 years of my life as an actor, because in fact they established the way I should behave and the way that I should approach stuff very, very much. And then when I landed in America, which was absurd, the idea of coming to Hollywood or whatever, it was to actually, there was a young director, first-time director, feature film director, first-time feature, in New York called Jeff Stansler, and I did a film with him up in New York, and I came down to Hollywood and on my way to London. I wanted out. And my agent at the time in America said, sit on your ass, get yourself an agent. Oh, no, that's how I got an agent. That's right. My agent in England made me stay, made me get an agent in America. And I did that. And then they made me stay just for a few weeks, So I bought a saucepan and some baked beans, and I was good. And I started reading scripts, and then I got Quentin's script for Reservoir Dogs. And I was 20 pages in, I was like, I got to do this. And that marshaled the second sort of end of my career, the American side of things. So I have two people. It's a long answer to should be a succinct question, is a succinct question. But I have two people that marshaled me. That would be Alan Clark and Quentin, that encouraged me and moved me forward, and so on. So I would say those two. I don't know if that answers you.
I've stubbornly returned on my iPad using my phone. My neighborhood. I'm back. I'm sorry about that. My whole neighborhood went down, but I'm not.
We had that the other day.
I'm not giving up.
Yeah, we're used to it.
So I assume you're going into the Q&A portion.
Did that answer Justine's question, though?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, John, we are starting to take questions from the students, but feel free to
Great,
jump in.
fantastic. No, I'm just going to. I've never done this on my iPad. It's very exciting. I'm going to see if I can get up the
That's what I've got.
Chat. Oh yeah, it's working really better than my computer was working. So anyway, no, actually, Alex, why don't you throw to the next question while I gather my wits? Yeah, cool.
All right, sounds good. Jenna, if you're out there, feel free to jump on with your video.
Hi, Tim.
Hiya.
I'm Jenna. I'm a student of John's, actually.
Okay.
I was wondering, I know you said you didn't really get a formal drama education, but I was wondering what your role prep process looks like. Do you do your own character background? Do you do Uta Hagen's questions? Is there anything in particular that you try to stick to every time, or does it kind of depend on the role?
It changes. It changes. It's on what is. It's not the role necessarily. It's how the filmmakers work. So you can do. You try and get your grunt work out of the way, where you get your lines learned up to a point. You got to get feel for the character. You have it in the back of your mind what that person should be, or how would be interesting for yourself to go on that journey. It's different when you're doing one to pay the rent as opposed to one for yourself. Talking about the ones for yourself, which are the most important ones, you kind of want to get, I tend to spend a lot of time talking to the director first, to gauge them a bit, to see how they feel about the work process themselves. And I'll either go deep in it or I'll go really shallow. Sometimes when you go really light on prep, then you jump on set and you have to figure it out as you go along. It's really fun. Dangerous, terrifying at times, but really, really interesting. I just did a film in Mexico prior to the shit hitting the fan, and we did zero prep. The director wasn't quite sure how the film was going to work out, nor were the actors. We just kind of moved along, stripping dialogue, stripping it back, coming up with ideas as we progressed through the film. God knows what it would be like, but it was very, very challenging, very difficult, but might be good. And so I suppose the answer to the question is I don't think, for me anyway, I don't think you can lock down what process is. I think you'll figure it out as you go along, if you can. Otherwise, you just ask for help, really. That's what I tend to do. If I can't figure it out myself, I ask them. But collaboration is good. Does that answer you a bit?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry to skip ahead in the order here, but we have someone who's going to have to leave in a few minutes. So I wanted to call on Kellen, and then we'll go back to the running order that I put in.
All right. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Hiya. Iron Man fan.
Yeah, very much so. So I'm excited that you're coming back in the MCU. But I had a question for you as far as working with Tarantino for so many different projects over the years. Have you noticed changes in the process with your collaboration with him, discoveries you've made as an actor with him, something along those lines?
Not only really in that he has, oh, my dog's barking. Only in that he has more money now, so he can expand on the, so he can rehearse longer if he wants to.
My dog's.
Oh, you got your dog too.
Oh yeah, you heard your dog.
Yeah,
No, keep going.
Mine's barking at the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the guy still here? I lost him.
I'm here.
Oh, well, there you are. Let me put you up. Oh, so yeah, I do see a change because he has when we did Reservoir Dogs, for example, it was crunch time, budget time. We shot the whole thing in I think 5 weeks. Now he can take his time doing his thing. But we do with him, it's really quite an unusual thing. We all say it, all of his actors say it, that you don't need to improvise with him. He's done it for you. If he overhears something you're doing mucking about off camera and he likes it, he'll put it in. But apart from that, it's pretty much the same process, but with a little more meat on the bone, as far as him being able to shoot his film. And by the way, he shoots on film, so it's a longer process than if it was on digital, but it's really enjoyable for the actors. Yeah, I would say. But no, I mean, he's got a lot of years in him now. That's the difference, I suppose. And we're waiting to do, to find out if we're doing number 10, his final film or not. We'll find out. And
we need to see your scenes from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We didn't get to see them.
My son
was working on it, so he got to see him.
Oh, okay.
And when Quentin cut that out, I went over to his place where he was doing the edit and whatnot, and he wanted me to show it to me. He wanted to say, "I'm sorry," whatever. It's very sweet, but what had happened was, I think, well, as he explained it, was when he put the film together, it was this fucking big. It got so long. So what he did was, and he didn't want to do it as a part 1, part 2. He was limited. So he all of those characters, because they weren't on this thrust of the journey that he decided to go on, all fell by the wayside. But yeah, it's only a brief moment, but it made Quentin laugh when he was behind the camera. That's another thing with Quentin, by the way. Sometimes you see the camera shake because he's laughing during a take. You can hear him in Hateful Eight. I think you can hear him laughing at one point. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Good luck with everything.
Okay, we have Lisa.
Hi, Tim. Thank you for doing this, and
yeah.
Alex and John for running this. I feel like you've kind of been answering this question, so I don't know if it's a moot question anymore, but I'm a big fan of Mike Leigh's films, and I love Meantime so much, and I was wondering if that experience of creating that character in that film, if you learned anything from it, and if it informed the way you worked on subsequent projects, or if it was too singular to that film. And if that question is too boring, because I'm sure you've answered it before, have you found having tattoos to affect the way casting directors perceive you? Because I have
no, on the tattoo front, it's just longer in makeup.
Great,
when they have to
okay.
cover them up.
That's very reassuring, okay.
Don't worry. On the Mike Leigh front, it was my second job. So I'd worked on a scripted piece straight before it, and then this. So I was just game, and the process now is much longer, I believe. I know Tim Spall is his actor now, obviously, and he's an old mate of mine. So yeah, it's a long process now. But when we did it, I think yes, it has. It did change. I knew how to build a character if I needed to. I knew this particular kind of process that Mike worked with.
So were there questions that Mike would ask you to help you build that character? Were there exercises?
The process, I mean, if I'll try and, as it used to be when I worked with him, I only did it one time, was you would get together with him in the room, he cast his actors, everyone would just say hi, and then you wouldn't see him for months, you know. So you get in the room and he asks you to describe people of your own age that you know. So that was how it started. And so I made a list of people that I knew, and we chatted about them. And we did that over a period of days, and he would be doing that with the other actors. So you would come and go, but you would never, there was an official secrecy act. You were not allowed to discuss anything with the other actors, period. And so you would pass on the staircase and you'd be like this. It was really, really bizarre for me, but I kind of enjoyed it. So, and then eventually, after a while of doing that, he would go back over a few, and then he would say, okay, I want you to base your character on that guy. And that's what we did. And also he chose the family name from a character from a person that I knew, Pollock, because it's funny. And then you start working on that character, and then I'm maybe telling you what you know, but you dress the character. You go out and buy clothes as the character with the costume people. You then go out on your own. And he would be following around and looking at you and making notes. It's very, very weird. You wouldn't see anyone for weeks. And then suddenly you come in and you go, okay, this is your brother, this is your aunt, this is your uncle. And you go, hello. And you hadn't seen them for a while. And then you would start improvising with them, going out and working it. And they were in that same, at that same level, so same stage as you. And then you would start, I mean, it was a long process, but then on set, the set was improvised. You'd see it the day before, then he would make notes, he would ask you questions when you come out of character, ask you, would your character do this, and so on. And then we'd shoot it the next day, we'd make a scene and we'd shoot it. And you never knew where you stood in the film. I never knew that I was one of the leads in it.
Right.
The lead in it, I didn't know that. Until the part where I shaved my head, he told me, I want you to shave your head. We discussed that, and then go out, and whenever you're ready, come back to the flat. Right. Come back to the. So I went off. I got chased by some kids. I had to hide out. Did all of that stuff, which was normal for me anyway, because I got beat up at school. And then came back in character. Came back to the flat, and they were all in character, and I had my hood up, and nobody found out. Oh, nobody busted. So then we had to stop, come out, 7-8 hours improv and nothing. And then he said, I think eventually in the second improv, the mum found out, and then shit hit the fan. And then he said, what happens if your brother does?
Right. And
so we improvised to see what that would be. And that became what he shot. Right. But it was, I was like, what is this? I had no concept of such an idea of improvising an entire film and no script and all that. I was just game, thing of, all right, I'll take it, whatever.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay.
It was fun, but it was actually kind of stressful.
Right.
As well. And, and I was not short of telling him off if it got too stressed, because I didn't know, protocol on set very much. Right. So hence I don't think I was invited back, but we've met and seen each other since. I think I was so new that I was probably quite difficult to manipulate in a way that maybe he's used to doing.
Well, I love the film and I love your
performance. I'm glad.
So
yeah, I loved making it actually, and I loved all the people in it. It was only at the rap party we figured out who was doing what. It was interesting. Me and Gary Oldman. Gary, yeah, we were playing what we called hot bottle, throwing a bottle to get at each other, back and forth. You catch it in this warehouse when we were.
Oh, didn't it hit the
and split his face up? He still has the scar. I think. Yeah. And then as he was being dragged down the stairs to go to the hospital, he's like, "For fuck's sake, tell him I'm an actor," which was quite funny.
Right,
but he was all right about it. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Okay, we have Evan.
Hey Tim, big fan.
Hiya. There you are. Hi.
Yeah, so I had a question. Is there ever like a power struggle between actors and directors, either
Fuck yeah. Oh,
before shooting or like on set? And like, how do you overcome that? And like, is it more on small?
yeah, there is. I would say before shooting there can be, on set there can be. Yeah, it's not uncommon. I've been through a lot of them. When people, it's generally when people come to work either unprepared. No, that doesn't count. Not unprepared. Unbendable. As soon as you, I mean, and the actors as well as you know, the higher powers, but you know, the lack of flexibility, the lack of accepting that your idea is maybe not as good as their idea, both ways, can lead to a pretty unhappy experience. And that does happen. And also, that being said, it can change during filming as well, which is such fun. When you just go, okay, put your weapons down, you know, and let's get the job done, and suddenly it can be, the weight can be lifted. But generally, I think it does come down to the directors, or it comes down to the people that are weighing heavily on the director. So that's what I'm saying, producers sometimes, or a good producer produces the space in which the director can make his film or her film. You know, if a producer is constantly on that person's back, that the film can fall apart. You know, so the answer would be yes. It's not that it can't be fixed though. It can be, and when it is, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right.
Let's go out to Jan.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. My question would be like, can you talk a bit about your experience in The Legend of 1900?
Wow. Wow.
And there have been multiple questions about that film. So
really?
Feel free to go into detail.
So, what the fuck? Excuse my language. Okay, so I was in. Was it? Yeah. I was in South Carolina making a film again with a first-time director and having a lovely time. Lovely bloke, and I got sent the novella, not the script, of 1900, and read it, and it's just mind-blowing, so beautiful. And so I've lost the person who's, oops, there we go, where is she? There you are. So so I read it and was like, oh, okay. And then Tonatore and his first AD, which in Italy can mean your producer, or some, I don't know what the system is, very strange. Anyway, it's kind of fun. It was tough. They came to visit me on set and talked to me about, we went out to bite to eat, and they talked to me about this character. And I alerted them that I cannot play chopsticks. I haven't got a clue. I love the idea of the character, it's wonderful, but I had zero, and still do, by the way, experience of that. So they said, don't worry about that, we'll fix it. So I can't remember when we did it, but okay, we went off to Italy. First of all, we went to Odessa to shoot the stuff in the bottom of the ship and on deck. It was incredibly difficult. A lot of emotions. It was, I know, without being stereotyped, it was very Italian. It was wild. We were dragged around I think it's the Black Sea over there, right? We had one tug and a carcass of a ship, and it just kept drifting that way around. You have to bring it back around again. It was insane. On the piano front, I had this extraordinary young guy who actually had worked with Gary Oldman trying to teach him how to play piano, although Gary can play a bit, I think, or when he did play Beethoven. So he was my, it was like Laurel and Hardy, you know, it was insane. So he came to LA at the beginning for 2 months or so, just to get started. But I had to learn 21 pieces, sections of piano that you would directly see me play on fingers and so forth. And so that was what we had to do, was big chunk. And also the mannerisms of a pianist when he's playing, even that guy, it's very weird. So yeah, so he came to LA, we worked every day, came to my house, he had keyboards, bring set up, and we would work together. And then we went to Odessa together, and again, working, you know, at the hotel room next to mine, and these were rough old hotels too, and playing constant, all the time, every day, despite work, we would do this. And then came to shoot that stuff. We would use all kinds of tricks. I would have my hands behind my back and his arms with the green sleeves coming through so they could attach them to the oldest gags in the world to make it work. And huge sequences where you, from a distance, or get away with some of that stuff. And he would do the hand stuff as well, and then they would try and match it up to me, and all, you know, every gag you could think of to make it work. But in the middle of all that, you had to put that aside, and you had to, what's the story? You had to concentrate on the story. And we had Pruitt, who played what was he was a trumpet player, I think, and it's about their relationship and the journey to stepping onto land and whether or not that would happen, as you know. So it was really tough, really difficult to make. I actually have seen that, because that was before I stopped. And, you know, I can't watch myself, so it's difficult. But it's such a beautiful story. And it's a very old-fashioned kind of romantic movie, quite similar to what I watch on TCM all the time. That's the only thing I watch. And quite lovely and romantic. Yeah, a romantic, old-fashioned story we were all part of making. And I still have friends to this day from that film. It was incredibly difficult, emotional, and sometimes a bit yelly, you know, but I would never miss that journey. I wouldn't miss it for the world. It was quite something. Whether or not you like the film is neither here nor there for me, but it's beautiful, you know. What a story, what a yarn, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we should have Jordan next.
All right, hello. Thanks for being here. Hello.
Thanks.
My question is, for when you first got the script for Reservoir Dogs, was the Mr. Orange character who you gravitated towards or wanted to depict, or were there any other characters in there that you maybe wanted to depict at the beginning?
Well, what happened was, I was getting these scripts. They would send me chunks of script over, you know, stacks. It was really weird. I was like, what the fuck? I just want to get on a plane and go to London. And then I got this script, Reservoir Dogs, and on the cover was a note from one of the agents that I had, and it said, "Look at pink or blonde." And I didn't know what the fuck that meant. So I opened this thing up and I started reading it, and immediately went, fuck no, I want to play orange. Because I like the idea of being an English person playing an American person, playing a robber who's actually a cop. The levels of deceit on that, even like within my own life, you know, trying to play American, trying to slide that one by an audience, you know, And I just liked all the layers of it. I just thought, what a trip. And then when I went to meet with them, they were down with it, but Harvey Keitel really wanted me to read with him because it's like a father-son thing, and I wouldn't do it. And so that became difficult. I mean, Harvey is I love him. So, but it was like, please, 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 because that's the kind of actor he was. He just wanted to see, but I felt I wouldn't be able to bring anything to the table. I never do, I don't never audition. I will meet anybody, but I can't. I was shit at that, terrible at auditioning. So that it ended up with me, and it's an old story, but it ended up with me and Quentin. We went to a deli, then we went to a pub that I knew up the road from my flat, and then back to my apartment and flat. And he brought beers, and by the end of it, we read every part in the script and got my house on fire. So it was immediate with me, I would say. I mean, I think those are wonderful, wonderful characters, and thank fuck for the actors that played them. But I just liked the layers. I just thought that would be the most difficult job I could do. The harder, the better on that. And brilliant.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go out to Ilya.
Hey Tim, you look wonderful, by the way. Hey.
Thanks.
No, I'm loving the beard. It looks great on you.
Yeah, I'm growing it for the job. So. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. I just had a question for you. I feel like in theater and film, every actor kind of carves their own way, where they leave different things behind, breadcrumbs for other people to follow. I'm kind of curious as yourself and what you've done in your time and what you're still going to be working on going forward, obviously. What are you hoping to leave behind as far as a legacy? What do you want people who are studying acting or hoping to get into it, when they watch you on screen or maybe look back at your performances in theater, what are you hoping people to take away from what you've done and maybe take for themselves as they become actors or even directors?
It's a tricky one, because your legacy is for other people to decide. Do you know what I mean? So it's not something that you can't craft a legacy. That's over to you guys. But when I look at the work that I've done, when I think about the work that I've done, I should say, it's a mess. I like it that way. It's an absolute mess. There is no, I mean, I got known for playing bad guys for a while, but then there's 1900, so you go, there's 4 rooms. What the fuck is 4 rooms? It's a total shit show. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. I remember when I did Lie to Me, which was good for the rent. No film actors in America at that time, they didn't want to cross over to TV. If you crossed over to TV, it was considered you're pretty much done, at that point. At that point, I was getting phone calls from film actors going, what's it like? Is it good? Are you, and I, not about the show, but do you think it's worth it? Can we do it? Why are you doing this? I have kids. So, I suppose the legacy that I leave behind is it's a shit show. It's a fucking mess. But I think that's the way you should go. I think you should play the field and not worry about it. And if you fall on your ass, you just do it again. Or try something different. Not get trapped into one particular world. Play as much as you can, because after a while they'll stop you. You're done anyway. So you might as well, if you get the shot at mucking about in this way, it's probably worth getting it while you can, because you never know when it's done. It can be real quick. It can be real long. You never know. But that's I suppose in a backwards way of answering it is the bigger the mess, as far as following any kind of line or within the work, the better. Really, it's more fun that way.
So you never considered yourself a character actor or a leading man. You're just an actor. You want to do the work.
I don't consider that's not for me. That's for the people around me. They can,
Right.
if you know, I've been told, oh no, at the very beginning it was like, with a face like this, you're fucking kidding me. You know, you were always going to be a character actor. You know, leading man was not something that was going to come my way, and then occasionally it did, weirdly. You know, so in a weird way, in an interesting way. So no, never really, never think about it that way. Never think about it that way. I'm always amazed that I'm employed. It's pretty good.
Thank you, Tim. I just appreciate the honesty. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Let's go out to Ryan next.
Hiya.
Tim, thanks so much for being with us.
No worries.
I wanted to ask you if there was a city that you like to live in and base your life out of in terms of your career, or is it a balance of multiple cities, Los Angeles, New York, London, you know, and so
I would live, to be honest with you, if I could finish up, well, it's Paris or Rome for me. It is. I think, although it's, you know, the trouble with these places is gentrification, and so, but yeah, if that was out of the way, I think probably go to Paris with my missus and do that. I'd be very happy to do that. I have a serious soft spot for Rome myself, but my wife loves Paris and so do I. So that'd probably be where I end up. Never London. I'm done with that. Yeah.
And in terms of your career, has there been a city that's been more or less influential, or has that been a balance of multiple places as well?
Well, you go where the job is. So, but I mean, as far as the beginning, it was London, and the now it's Los Angeles. You know, although it's weird because there's not, you find out that there's not that much made in LA because it's too expensive, unless you're doing a TV show or whatever. It's pretty fucking expensive to shoot here. So, the studios tend to go where the tax breaks are. Right. So, that's you follow that, you're in their hands. But it's nice when you do get a job that's close to home, definitely. But I mean, Paris, in a dream world, in dream scenario, yeah.
Well, I definitely hope that happens for you. That sounds beautiful.
Me too.
And thank you so much again.
Cheers, man. Thanks.
Okay, let's go over to Vasilisa.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. I'm a huge fan of your work, and actually the first movie that I've ever seen was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. And I was just wondering throughout the film, like, how was it like studying the script and just like getting used to speaking in Shakespearean old language? And yeah.
Well, the only thing I'd done on the Shakespeare front was in a community theatre. We did Othello, and I played Cassio with a shaved head. It was completely made no sense. Hair being part of the point. So that was it for me. And then I was gonna do a film where we were in Dubrovnik, and I was supposed to be doing a film there. So they flew us all out and they put us in hotels. And I took my girlfriend at the time, and I remember I had a really big zit on the end of my nose. This is, back in those, I was probably in my mid-20s at the time. Anyway, which everyone talked about. Anyway, so I was there. The film got cancelled, but we stuck it out. And then while I was in Dubrovnik, I got this script sent to me, and I didn't know what it was. My agent in London had sent it to me. And I opened it. It was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and I was nauseous when I looked at it. I was like, "You're fucking joking." So I'm gonna waffle here because it's an interesting story, and I don't know if I told it before. So anyway, I read it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And I knew the play. I mean, from school or some community theatre somewhere. I had a recollection of it, but the script was the script. So they went back from Dubrovnik to London, and I had to go to meet Tom Stoppard, and he had this posh flat, penthouse flat in Chelsea, you know, super fancy pants. And so I went there, and I got off the train, and I got on the bus, and I went to his place, and I knocked on the door. They sent me up, and then I knocked on the door, and the door opened, and it was Gary Oldman. And I was like, what the fuck? And me and Gary we only knew each other from Meantime with Mike Lee. So I was like, what the fuck? So Tom brought us in, and we sat down, and we just started mucking about with the script. But more than that, the important side of it is we just started bantering, me and him, back together. And Tom was looking at these two London boys, which was not what the script required, and was not what the play required. Was looking at it going, fuck. So I found out later. So we finished our thing. Gary stayed put because he was, I think, cast. And I got in. Tom said, I'll ride you to the station. I'll get you in the taxi. I said, I have to go to the National Theatre. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I got in the taxi, and me and Tom, and I was very nervous because I was a fan. And he said, Tim, I got something to tell you. I'm really sorry, but I am on my way to see Daniel Day-Lewis. He's playing Hamlet at the National, and we're going to give the role to him. But I think what you were doing was amazing, and I'm really, really sorry. But it was a given that he was going to get the role. Okay. He goes that way. I'm like, fuck. Oh well. Get on the train, and I'll go on. He goes to the National. It was the night, it was a famous night, so I can talk about it, when Danny walked out on stage and he sees the ghost of his father. What he saw was the ghost of his father, of Danny's father, and had a bit of a breakdown on stage. And it was taken back, and they shut the show down for a while. It was Danny. So I didn't know any of this. And I get a call from Tom Stoppard going, you've got the gig. So it was only thanks to Danny having a bit of a meltdown on stage that I got that part anyway. But it was also, I think, because he'd seen me and Gary being mouthy to each other and having a good time. That happened. So we go to Zagreb just before the war hit in Zagreb, and we shoot there, which was astounding and wonderful. Sean Connery was originally going to play the role, but he pulled out because there weren't any golf clubs nearby. So Richard Dreyfuss came on board. And I say that without knowing that, but I'm just saying it. And so, so Dreyfuss came on, which was fantastic. And we shot this amazing, we had this amazing time, very quick, I think about 6 weeks. And to your point, it took me a while to get there. We were fine with the scenes between the two of them. We were just great. We had that down. We were having the best time. Even when the scenes were shot, we would just keep doing them because we loved them. It's such great dialogue when you get stuff like that. I think that was why Quentin cast me in Reservoir Dogs, why that came up because of that film. And so, but it was fantastic. The only problem that I ever encountered was when we had to do Shakespeare. The lines wouldn't go in. It was cut. Okay, we'll do it again. Okay, it was over and over and over again. I couldn't handle it. And I'd done it on stage, but then it was at that point I got stage fright while we were filming that. That mirrored it. I lost my shit to the point where I wanted them written up, but they wouldn't do it for me. It was really, really difficult to step from the one to the other. For Gary, it was easy. He was much more of a sort of, I think he was a trained actor, so he had much more of the tools in his toolbox to deal with it. For me, I think he kind of carried me through that stuff and would help me out during that.
I mean,
does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, reading it is hard, so I can't imagine how hard it is
It's
performing
really,
it?
yeah, Shakespeare I find very, very difficult. But having said that, I would like to direct Shakespeare, go figure, right? So, but I find it very, very difficult. I've never really, not in my sort of later career, had to deal with it. But yeah, I found it very, very hard. It was such an anathema to me. And Gary found it very easy. He could handle it. So he kind of held my hand through that stuff, I think, back then. It is difficult stuff. But the actual script is so it goes in your brain so easy because it's just fantastic writing. You know, it was when I came to that, it was like I ran into a brick wall with the other stuff. Go figure. Oh, I can't hear you.
I just said it's great. It was a great performance, and I really enjoyed the film. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank you for coming.
Okay, let's go over to.
You need light. It's getting a bit dark in here. Can you see me, you guys?
Yeah, you're perfectly
Okay.
well lit. Yeah. Let's go out to Gavial.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Yeah, I think so. Hi, James. Greetings here from 1:30 a.m. here in the Netherlands, and thank you for being here today.
Are you in Holland?
Yeah, I'm in the Holland right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm here based in the Maastricht, which is a very nice city. Yeah, very
Okay.
small, but yeah, tranquil. So I have a question about your experience of working with the first time and second time directors. So can you elaborate more about this kind of experiences by probably doing some comparison between, you know, working with them and working with directors like Quentin? Like, what's your basic motive behind this? Or like, is it supporting the new generations of directors or something else?
For me, first time director, you know, it's interesting to be around that energy. That I can. I mean, there are many different versions of it. That's for sure. But no, I like the idea of working with people who are just starting out and they don't quite know what they're doing because we most of the time don't know what we're doing. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Sometimes it's awful. I did a film in Africa one time, and everything was fine. It was very weird. This is a good example. Quentin is the example of how people can get it right. James Gray is an example of the first-time director that I worked with. I think he'd shot a short film and that was it. We did Little Odessa together. Vondi Curtis Hall, I think, when we did Gridlocked, another one. All of them, I think that was his first one. All of them handled themselves brilliantly. But I did a film in Africa where the director, it was in a war. We were filming within a war. It's very difficult. You probably couldn't make it today. And the director froze when it came to it. We were doing a scene. The first day, all I had to do was walk into the courtyard of this house. It was where Rimbaud stayed, and when he was out there, and the film had echoes of Rimbaud's journey across Africa, which was kind of weird. And so all I had to do was walk into this house. A woman comes out the window. She says something to me. I say something to her. Cut. Oh no! Turn around, walk away. 2 days later, we're still shooting this. And that's a case of freezing in the headlights, and that happens too. In which case, if you're a better person than me, you carry that forward. You try and help out, and they get in stage fright, so you should be a bigger. But we're all like 2 days later, we're like, what the fuck? You know, we handled it badly, I think, in hindsight. At one point, he sat at the director's side and said, okay, let me show you how to do this particular scene. It was a dialogue scene. It was and I said, put the tracks down here. We'll do it on the travel. We'll do this. Go with this person here. Come back around. Find that. The two of them come back here. All in one. End up sitting against the wall. Let it play out. Cut. You've got it. And we did it, but it didn't help because it was like a bit of a bullying tactic in a sense from me. That's how it came about. Didn't help. Sometimes it's the impossibility of the task is it overshadows the fact that you're there, and the clock is always ticking. Remember that. So that was a case of it being, I still feel guilty about that today, but that was a case of it being, there was no salvaging it. We didn't get the film made, by the way, and it, for some reason, ended up in Cannes. But very, very difficult, very, very, very difficult time for that person. And I saw, when we were in pre-production, I saw no evidence of that. It was really weird. And then it just happened when action had to be said, you know, and that can happen. You can freeze in the headlights. And it was, yeah, we got the film made, we all carried through. It was a very tricky time, but I do feel guilty about it. You know, actors can be wankers, that's for sure. But that's the two sides.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
No, there are people who are just born to it, and you can, and but you really will never know until day one, scene one, shot one. You'll find out.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's very inspiring. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, let's go out to Roxy.
I didn't know people were around the world. That's so cool. Hi.
Hi, team. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm a big fan of yours. I probably watched Lie to Me more than 5 times.
Oh, good. Someone has to.
My question is, in your career, you formed many impressive and memory roles, and you mentioned you like to play American roles and all that. My question is there a time you found it really hard to get out of a character after the film was made?
No, I suppose no, I don't have a problem with that. I usually welcome it, because especially in some cases, roles are very exhausting, you know, to be that person. Oh, I'll give you a good example. I played a serial killer, a British serial killer, who portrayed himself as a very tired, gentle old man. And he's a very famous serial killer in Britain. He was hanged in 1953, and he's part of the reason why the death penalty was stopped in Britain, because he convinced the prosecution that another person had done one of his crimes, and got that person hanged. So he was a very dark character, very, very difficult on a daily basis to go in. It's like, okay, what are we doing today? You don't want to know. So what happens is when something like that is happening, or Funny Games is happening, it's such a relief when it's over. It's such it's exhausting, but the other thing that happens is it takes a while to shake it off. So with creepy characters or whatever, it's like everyone just keeps their distance when you come home. You're wearing it in like a bit of an atmosphere, and it's fucking horrible. But eventually it all wears off and you don't go back there. But there's that. I'm not we call them Methodist actors. I'm not one of those people that has to live the character. I'm like, you go in, you do your job, you get the fuck out. And because some of them particularly tough. Some of them you miss, that's another thing. You miss that guy, or you miss that person, you know. Oh, I love being that guy. Never mind. They're pretty rare too, but yeah. If that answers. You're welcome.
Okay, we've got one more live question.
Okay.
From Ian, and then there's just a couple of other things that we've been asked to read.
No worries. Yeah. Hiya.
Hey, Tim. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. It's actually funny you alluding to a film that you did in South Carolina and Charleston, which is actually my hometown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Deceiver, right?
No, the one that, yeah, Deceiver we shot there, and then I went back to shoot, what was it called? When it's gone right out my brain. Gasoline Alley, something like that. It
Yeah,
changed its title. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did that on Edisto.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You may not remember this, but my father was actually an ophthalmologist, and he says that he helped you with an eye problem while you're on set. Don't
That
know
makes
if,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he told me
That
to say
makes
hi.
sense. Okay. Say hi
Yeah,
back.
I will.
Tell him I
going-
got my lens replaced. My lens is
Oh,
replaced. I had
right
that
on.
weird fucking surgery.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Yeah.
But going on to my question, in your directorial debut, Warzone, looking back on it, with your career as it's gone and the life experiences that you've had, what would you do differently in that film if you were directing it today?
I wouldn't do it. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
why not?
It's just too much. It was too much. All of it. I think it's difficult. I wasn't looking for that subject matter. I got enough money in the bank to be able to direct, and that's kind of what you need. I mean, I had to look after the family and do all of that stuff. So that book just landed on me. But I think what I would do is something I would prefer to do, I think in the end, something so out of my knowledge. That's the kind of thing that I would do now. If I think back on it, I'd do something really, really complex, like something that involved loads of car chases or something. What's that like? You know, something that is a musical. I mean, that's why I did the film, the Woody Allen musical, just to see what that felt like. You know, something that is just so far from the world. Not English. Do something in French or Italian, and struggle with that. Make it as difficult and as challenging as possible. Which is, I think, why I'm drawn to doing the Shakespeare, the Pinter thing. Because it's like I was saying to the friend earlier, student earlier, I struggle with that. So what's that like? That's going to be interesting, you know. And I think that, so I think I would, yeah. Knowing now what I know, I would most definitely have done something, you know. I mean, to pick a movie out, to do a Bourne movie or so, just to see what it's like. Why not? Why the fuck not? You know. What a trip it would be. So I think that would be where I would go. You know, in a sense, challenging, totally subject to failure. You know, because one of those movies, you know, the Mission Impossibles or whatever. You know, you love them or you hate them. But what an idea, just to do something that's so far away from what you know. I think that's what I would do.
Yeah, well, we certainly hope to see you in the director's chair sometime soon, man.
You might. You might.
Right. Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate it.
Take it. Thanks, man.
So, Tim, we have to wrap in just a couple of minutes. And so I wanted to...
That's because I waffle.
You were so generous. We got through a lot of
no, it's amazing.
questions.
It's such a great opportunity.
Oh, cool.
I wanted to focus on I guess these just two of these questions. So the first one was, someone who I was just going to call on said it was okay. So the question was about Everyone Says I Love You, and if you've ever been in a...
Oh, right, yeah.
And if so, how did you feel about the experience?
It was weird. The reason I did it is that my wife loves musicals, and so we watched a lot of musicals together. And so do I, actually. So I wanted to experience doing dialogue and then stepping into song. I had no idea what that felt like. And you see actors do it on the old movies, you know. And I thought, I'd love to know what is that line? What does that actually feel like when you know your next moment is to sing? And so I got to experience that. That's the only reason I did it. And it made my wife cry when she watched it. She was it was so sappy and silly. The experience of making it was very interesting. You were the director was his thing was to you could sing if you wanted to. You could use your own voice if you wanted to. I said, oh, I'm doing it. Can't sing at all. So we got to go into the old music studios in LA and do where Sinatra and those guys did their shit, some of it, and record. And he would present the script to you, and he would go, "This line's good. This one will serve you well. Don't worry about that. Don't know, but get to this one. This one you get a laugh. Okay, the rest is up to you." And so I got to play, got to improvise. The only thing is we couldn't have a dialect coach, so that was nerve-wracking, but fuck it. And then I remember there was a stunt. It was, I'd been told by some actors, "Oh, he doesn't even give you direction." It's very strange experience working with him. And I saw that he expects his actors to do their thing. But what happened was I was supposed to do a drive-by. It was a bit stunty, so they put a stunt guy in for me, and I waited by camera. Instead of going back to my caravan, they said, I said, "Can I just wait by camera?" And then I got to see him interact with his crew. And then I got to see the actual person, and not the director of actors. It can be very, very different with each actor. And we developed a rapport. And so it became very easy, where he would say, "I want you to come in through this door. All the other actors are up and running. Take the room." I'm like, "Okay." He said, "I just want you to end up in that room. That's all. The rest of it is up to you. Drive them crazy." I was like, "Okay." And we would do shit like that. So it was kind of fun. I mean, and then it was over. But it was definitely a bit of a fun time. I enjoyed it. But I wanted to know what it felt like, and I got to experience that. That leap into some.
Okay, very last one was what was it like to work on 4 rooms with 4 directors at once?
It was my cat, not actually my son's cat. It's not my cat. It was weird. I think it was Steve Buscemi was supposed to play that role and then couldn't do it for some reason. So I got that. And it was a way of, it was like, "Oh, mate, so Quentin was there." But the others I hadn't worked with. So what I did was I met with each of them, and we shot in a line, really. We shot in order with play. There were weaknesses in the script. Some were better than others. Some of the rooms were better than others. And I had to travel through all of them. And I found it incredibly enjoyable. It was insane because you were traveling between directors at times, and they had very different ways of doing what they were doing, and you had to go with that. And you had to, the way that I found out to play the character was, I remembered when I'd gone to see Jaws, and we'd seen it in the big screen in cinema when I was a kid. And when the head floats across the hole in the bottom of the boat, I actually ended up with my ass sitting on top of the seat in the cinema. I jumped that far. So there was a moment when Madonna walks into the hotel to check in, and then suddenly she's there, and I did that. And that was how I figured out the character. And it was a cross between Bugs Bunny and Jimmy Cagney, a little bit, kind of fucking around with that noise, playing around. It was good. I mean, it's an insane film. Whenever people come up to me and say, and I'll stop. Whenever people come up to me and say, "I really loved you in 4 rooms," they're a stoner. Guaranteed. Weed was involved. Just saying. I like the room, Rodriguez's room. I like Robert Rodriguez with the kids. And Antonio. Great guy.
Great. Well, Tim, John, thank you so much for this wonderful afternoon.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
It was really amazing, and I hope that someday we'll be able to have you down on campus.
Isn't that crazy? Well, if I get a vaccine, I'll come.
Yeah, it would be great. And the internet won't fail, and I can be more present.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Don't worry about that, man. It's Zoom Central. Yeah.
All right, but thank you.
All
It's
right.
really been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks, and thanks to all the students. And cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.